Hey guys, I wanted to give you some information about active and passive voice since you will be working on that on No Red Ink. It's something that most people were struggling with, so it's something we need to give a little more attention to. I think the main reason people struggle is they overthink it, but also you have to figure out um, who or what your subject is before you can actually figure out if it's active or passive. Okay, so if a sentence is written in active voice, that means your subject is doing something. So in this sentence, the student submitted her report. The student is actively turning in her work. It could be the student walked down the street. That would still be active because the student is actively doing something. The opposite would be passive. And in that situation, again, you have to figure out who or what your subject is and then look at whether or not they're doing something. In a passive voice sentence, something is being done to the subject. So, our example, the report was submitted by the student, is passive because the report can't turn itself in. It has to be turned in by a student. Something is being done to it, therefore, it is passively involved. Okay? Now, when it comes to writing, we tend to prefer active voice because it is stronger and brings a stronger voice to your writing. But sometimes passive voice is needed or maybe preferred depending on the situation. If you don't want to call attention to someone that's involved in a situation, or if you just don't know, then those are situations you would use passive voice. Like the dinner was ruined. If you don't want to point out that dinner was ruined by a specific individual, then you would take the passive route and just say it was ruined instead of saying, you know, Joe ruined dinner. Excuse me. The manuscript was stolen. That would be a passive voice sentence because something's being done to your subject, which is the manuscript, but you may not know who stole it. So you can't point fingers when you don't know who to point them at. So you got to use passive voice. Okay, so when you're using passive voice, sometimes you end up using a form of the auxiliary verb be with the past participle of the verb. Basically, if you notice looking at these sentences, they all use the word pleased, but we're adding those be verbs is, was, will be. So that's what's determining whether or not it's present, past, or future. Okay? Not the word pleased, it's the is, was, or will be that you've added on to it. Okay? So is pleased is present, still passive, because something is being done to your subject. Was pleased is past tense passive voice. Will be pleased is future tense passive voice. All passive, all using be verbs, and that is what is determining what our tense is. Now, normally I have folks do all of these and we discuss them in class. It's kind of hard to do, especially when some of you all are at home working on this at this point. But take a look at them because the first slide shows all of the sentences in passive voice. The second one shows you what they would be if they were written in active voice. So seeing those examples together can help you get a better viewpoint on what it means to be active or passive, okay? So take your time with your No Red Ink, think it through. So there may be times that they ask you to change sentences from active to passive or vice versa. And remember, you got to figure out who's your subject. When you change from active voice to passive voice or from passive to active, your subject may have to change in order to make it active or passive. You know, these are situations when you're creating these sentences where you may have to flip things around. You may have to add information, which you'll see with these examples that I've given you. But don't give up. Think it through, okay? Because you're fully capable. All right. And that's it.